Alrighty then, here is a perfect example of why I don't put many videos up. Because I left out so much pertinent information out of that last video about my daughter. And it's like I don't want to put up an incomplete video. But I've left so much pertinent information out of that video that it's a whole nother video on its own. So I'll just make another video. One of the things I said, it's just a distraction about them worshiping Lucifer. I don't care if they do or not. To me, it's a distraction, because if you're worried about do they worship Lucifer or whatever like that, you're not watching what they're doing. What they're doing is much more pertinent than who they worship, I think. I've put a video up on my liked videos of, there was a comment on somebody's channel. Oh, I've been searching for 30 years and I've never found any information that the Masons worship Lucifer. Okay, well, you're never going to find it if you're Googling Disneyland and Donald Duck. If you put in Lucifer, Masons, you'll get about 20 million hits. So you just got to know what search terms to put in. You're never going to find Lucifer and Masons if you're putting in Disneyland and Donald Duck. So I put up a video of it coming straight out of a Shriner's mouth. Lucifer is my Lord and Savior. I mean, how much clearer can you be? How much clearer do you need? Okay, so anyway, but like I said, if you're worried about do they worship Lucifer or not, you're not paying attention to what they're doing. What they're doing is key. Also, because of this fiasco with my daughter, where my insurance company canceled me, and the doctors could have very well put her in a body cast, but they opted for 20, 25 surgeries through all her growing steps and stages and that kind of stuff, and all that money that they would get from that. I got sent off on researching the medical industry. And I learned how Rockefeller, let's talk about Rockefeller for a second. If you go back in Rockefeller's genealogy, you'll see that a great-great-grandmother came from the Rothschilds. This is how they do it. This is how the Rothschilds work. Now, if you look at my subscription list, there is a man named Dimitri. Now, Dimitri is a wanted man. He's wanted by Russia, I think. He's wanted by the United States or whatever. I don't know, but he is ostracized. And he is now a sovereign man in Thailand. And he is safe in Thailand, at least for the time being. His story is that he was working for the Russian military, and what his job was to make sure that the world is compliant with nuclear testing. Just like the United States does, China does, everybody does. When somebody does a nuclear test, all the other countries know about it. How do they know? Does, like, North Korea call China and United States and everybody and say, hey, we're going to test a nuclear weapon? No, they don't do that. They find out by the earthquake activity. When there's a nuclear explosion, there's earthquake activity on seismographs and that kind of stuff. His job, Dimitri's job, was to monitor those seismographs for the Russian military to make sure everybody is compliant with the nuclear treaties and stuff. And it doesn't matter where on the planet a nuclear explosion is, it's detected by everybody's seismographs. We have seismographs all over the world so that we can pinpoint, triangulate the epicenter of the explosion. Okay, well, Dimitri, against all his rules and regulations and what his boss says, he detected nuclear explosions on 9/11 in New York. Now, it's not Russia's business to come out with that. It's not China's business to come out with that. It's nobody's business to come out with that if the United States ain't going to come out with it. So he was told keep his mouth shut. He didn't keep his mouth shut. Or maybe it's a plant. Who knows? Anyway, that is why he is hiding in Thailand. But what's keeping him alive in Thailand is that he knows who the Thailand royalty is related to. Now, I heard a rumor about, 10 years ago that they're related to the Bush family. I don't know. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. But it does fit the pattern. The pattern, there's another thing that is pretty much known in that Rockefeller impregnated 25 Chinese women. Now, I don't know if he physically did the act or if it was artificial insemination or whatever, but this is how the Rothschild family works. This is how they do it. This is how they do it. They get their people into the key places. Mao Zedong, he came from Harvard. He was trained in the United States, the intelligence agencies. Same with all of these people. When you go back, you find out that they're all connected like that. Every last one of them. You do not come out of the streets and become a president somewhere. You're related. You're related, or you're not going to do it. You're not going to do it. And this can be, you don't need to listen to me. Do your own research. It's well known. It's well known. All of these rulers everywhere are related, or they are puppets of ours. Shah, Reza Pahlavi, Castro, all of these people. Anyway, because of this thing with my daughter, I began an investigation into the medical industry. And I found out that Rockefeller sent his guys out to shut down every medical school and hospital that did not use chemicals. So anybody that used herbal ingredients, anybody that used acupuncture, anybody that used anything other than chemicals from Chevron was shut down. Rockefeller took control of the entire medical industry. And this is way back in about the beginning of the 1900s. And I ended up writing 2 books about this. One was a short book about maybe 40 pages on fluoride, just fluoride. And of course I tell people about it, and you're a nutcase, you're a conspiracy theory guy. Fluoride's fine, you need it for your teeth, and they've been using it forever. And all. The very first place fluoride was used was in the concentration camps for Hitler. If you look it up and study fluoride, it is the most poisonous thing on the planet other than radioactive material. And yet people think it's good to drink it, swallow it, use it every day in their toothpaste, all that stuff. My other book was on the medical industry in general. And I spoke about this book in my early drunk videos. It's been over 2 years now since I've had a drop of alcohol, and I miss my Chianti and Cocoa Puffs. I miss my Chianti and Cocoa Puffs, but what can I say? Anyway, now what? I got off on Chianti and Cocoa Puffs. It's coming out now on the internet that fluoride's bad for you, but it's also coming out that, you know, they've got hidden cures for cancer. Ooh. Well, I can tell you something else. Back when they had that huge AIDS epidemic in San Francisco, and they were talking about the entire blood supply might have to be thrown out, there were people working on that problem. And at Yeshiva University in New York City, Albert Einstein Medical Center, 2 doctors found how to purify the blood and kill the AIDS virus. But they found out that not only does it kill the AIDS virus, but it kills everything else too. Herpes, all of these diseases, they all have the same thing in common, and they are all susceptible to the same treatment. They got a patent on this process. And if you remember, I told you about this friend of mine, one of my mentors that started that Big Brain Society. He called him and tried to speak with him about it because he was looking to design a variation for it. Take the general idea, just apply it in a different way. He called up these guys, these doctors at Albert Einstein University Medical Center, and they said, "I don't know what you're talking about." What? It wasn't me. That must have been another Dr. Johnson. No, don't. These doctors won't talk about it. These doctors will not talk about it. They don't admit to being the doctors that did the research. Nothing. Total silence. And yet, here's a patent with their name on it that says cure for HIV, AIDS, hepatitis. The list goes on and on. Also, this mentor of mine was not a conspiracy type guy. He doesn't go for that kind of stuff. But prior to his death, and he lived way out in the boondocks, he talked about some black helicopters that many people had seen in his area. And right before he died, he talked about he found a chip or something in between those 2 fingers right there. He didn't elaborate, he just mentioned it. That's it. He found some kind of chip in between his fingers, and then there was black helicopters in his area. He didn't equate the two. He didn't elaborate. He just, like, 2 sentences, that's it. And then he died. He was the healthiest guy I know, but he was 85. So I'm not going to do any conspiracy theory there. But anyway, also this discovery that was found by these 2 doctors was put in a little tiny ad, not an ad, but a newspaper report about that tall, about that wide, in some obscure newspaper in like Laredo, Texas or somewhere, where a cure for AIDS found. And that was it. No other newspaper, no other news outlet, no other magazine, no nothing. A little tiny article about that big in like a Laredo newspaper. This is how they do it. They tell you everything, but they don't put it where you're going to find it. They don't put it where a lot of people are going to see it. This is another one of their patterns. Something else that I discovered was that a man came up with what it essentially was like an X-ray, an MRI machine made out of like 2 water beds and a sound generator, where you're standing there, you've got a water bed here, you got a water bed behind you, and then they put sound waves into it, and it'll give a picture just like an MRI. You can see every organ, you can see all through there. But 2 water beds and a tuning fork don't need replacement parts. A tuning fork and water bed doesn't need power, electricity, that kind of stuff. It doesn't require some kind of, 5 years of school to operate. All that kind of stuff. That is another patent that's been suppressed. And who's in charge of these patents? Serco. In my secret prison video, I told you about Kristen Marcy, the head of the ATF, who then went to Serco, and soon her girlfriend there, Maureen Baginski, joined her. And it turns out that I got a video about that in my liked videos as well, that I guess she's admitted to how bad Serco is. Serco controls so much stuff in the world. It's all the things that the deep state want to control, like the air traffic control. They control all of the towers at almost every major airport in the world. It goes on and on. They're responsible for training for parts of the U.S. military. And I just don't mean a couple of parts, I mean vast amounts of the military. They control the patent office. They control the Library of Congress. They control all kinds of pieces of the United States military. And I guess this is all thanks to Jimmy Carter. Anyway, this patent number that I've told you about the cure for everything, if I give out that patent number, I have been told by a few people who would know about it that I'd go to prison and never be let out. I told you I put it in my book, and the guy said, if I publish this book, you're going to prison, I'm going to prison. I'll get out someday, but you'll never get out. They don't want this stuff out there. There's so much I could say, but I want to get back on topic and finish this other stuff, so I hope that helps. I'll talk to you later. Bye.